How can I? Everyone has like a little starting thing. What can my starting thing be? Oh, that's it. Welcome to the stream. We are live here, and we are going to be viewing the FFA Civ tier list for Nomads. Not Outback Octagon, not single, solo, not ranked, not nothing like that. It is FFA Nomads. Don't think it's been done before. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section below, and I probably won't read it. Anyway, so we have 7 different points that that Quill has brought up. Quill being my co-host here for this particular video. We have 7 different points that we're going to go through on each of these different Civ selection points that we put into the various S, A, B, C, D. Quill, if you want to, I'll pass over to you now to explain those 7 points.
I guess, first of all, to introduce myself, I'm Quill here. I'm the resident Conk 3, adding validity to Nomad's tier list. Without me, he's just a random Diamond 3 player now. He actually might hit Conqueror soon, so big ups to him. But
yeah, just to interject there, I'm 21 points away from Conk 1.
I also got to the finals of the last Nomad tournament. I see Bohestra's in the chat. He actually won it, so he should actually be the one on here. But you know, it is what it is. So the 7 items that I was thinking about for each Civ here, in terms of what's important for a Nomad FFA, is you've got economy, and then I've kind of separated out from economy trade, like how good a civilization's trade is, how good a civilization's army quality is. So that would be something like Great Bombards, as well as how good a civ is at booming. So that's tempo ability and the ability to take over the map, as well as rush ability, which is like if you put in a Thunderdome, you spawn next to someone, how likely are you to come out the winner? And then I've also added two additional categories, one for wonder defense, because most Nomad FFAs end in a wonder victory, as well as rat ability, which I'm calling the Patty special. That's how easy it is for you to make a comeback if you're put behind, as well as how hard it is to landmark snipe you, right? So like Abbasid would do poorly here, China Mongols would do well.
Cool.
So those are kind of the 7 categories that I was thinking about. And with that said, Nomad, if you want to pick our first Civ, and we can just jump into it.
Yeah, fine. Yeah, fine. I just want to get it in the chat. So we got economy, trade. I missed one. Booming, rush ability, wonder defense, and rat ability. What was? There's one I'm missing.
Army quality is the one you're missing.
Army quality. Okay, cool. I want to pick a Civ. Okay, I think we can just probably go in order of this. Maybe let's go China.
Oh yeah. So like when we think about China, for me, I think that an incredibly good Civ for Nomad FFAs. The reason for that is no other civilization is as good at booming as them. But if you put in a Thunderdome, you have the ability to Barbican Rush, which means that no matter how you spawn and what your nomadic situation is, you're likely to get into the late game in a good place. Additionally, right, they've got Nest of Bees and special hand cannons, which are just absolutely busted, as well as like fire lancers for landmark sniping.
Yeah.
And then, you know, they just have so much utility, having 8 landmarks that they can hide around the map. And the one to reveal villagers is very good in FFAs, just to know where to go snipe enemies, where to go hit the economy, and kind of also be able to tell like who's ahead in the game and who you should be targeting.
Yeah, and your advocates made a good point in the chat as well, which I was going to mention, is the ability to get your TC up quicker than anybody else. So if you are using the official mod, you're probably going to get your TC up, no doubt, the first.
Yeah, I think it's like 2 free villages basically that you get before everyone else, which is insane. So, Nomad, you're the Twitch streamer. With that said, where would you put them in terms of tiers here?
I think we're going S tier, 100% S tier for Chinese, based on all of those facts. I mean, across the board, aside from the trade booming, you can rush with them. You've got fire lancers, you've got Imperial Guard, Palace Guard rather. So the army quality there as well, Nest of Bees, the gunpowder units, One to defense. Again, Nesta Bees. You can wall. It's not like the Mongols. I'd say the only thing they lack is maybe the trade, really, because the economy's spot on. I mean, if you've only got a couple of gold nodes in your base, then you can get 20% extra from them. So I'm going S tier.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I would even say, my good friend Hunter is even in the chat now talking about how they're gold reliant in the late game, and obviously they don't have trade advantages to make the trade better than other civilizations. So they are gold reliant, but I think just because we said that they boom so much better than other civs and they're good in a rush scenario, it's really hard to actually deny them from getting the gold throughout the game. And as such, they're always going to be in a good spot and likely take over the game.
Yep.
All right, let's go to the next civ.
Agree. Oh, and survivability, I think, should almost be one. But survivability wise, you've got 8 landmarks, right? I don't think we touched on that. So yeah, survivability there, or rat ability, I guess, is pretty.
Yeah,
Probably the highest, I'd say. Aside from Mongols, where you can travel about.
Yeah, I would put Mongols above them, but I would give China like a 9.5 out of 10, right? And Mongols a 10 out of 10. So.
Yep. Cool. 7 landmarks. It's 8, isn't it? Oh, is it 7? Okay. I don't play them very often. Okay, moving on to Abbasid. So we've got weak rat ability, weak survivability, in terms of only having 2 landmarks. So we'll probably cover that off first. Certainly on the boom ability and the trade is probably up there with the best trade.
Yeah, so I think that Abbasid have the best trade in the game. Maybe French is comparable just because you get a secondary resource here. I know Ottomans per minute trade is a little bit higher resource generation wise if you get the keeps up. But Abbasid, the 10 out of 10 in terms of booming and the economy and trade is really good. For me, they just don't have the best army quality, right? Like camels and spears are good, but they don't really compete with the likes of like Nesta Bees or Great Bombards.
I'd say that, but
yeah,
they get. Just to interject on that, they do get access to culverins. They do obviously get the buff that the camels give them. They get a pretty tanky special men at arms, the Gulam. They get the gunpowder units as well. They get the hand cannoneers. I'd say the army's pretty strong.
Yeah, but they don't have special hand cannoneers
True.
to other civs. But I mean, listen, I think that sniperability is difficult in terms of just being attached to your 2 landmarks. You're only going to be in one spot. So for me, I put them in B tier. Nomad, where would you put them? We'll just go with your ranking.
I was going with A until you mentioned the good point, which is the 2 landmarks, which is I think it's quite crucial. If you base up next to a few players, you're going to be pretty dented. You need to move away. You can't. You're dead. And if you can't get the House of Wisdom down in a defensible position, you can't beat a player. Therefore, if you do end up kind of losing that fight, then you've lost the game. So yeah, beat it. Happy with that. Moving on to English. So English is an interesting one, I find. I feel like if the farms were stronger late game, as they used to be, I feel like they used to be stronger. I feel like they might be higher up the rankings. We don't see them picked an awful lot, I don't find. I mean, you put them in the hands of someone like Smeagol, and they're probably S tier, but yeah, I'm not sure. So trade is kind of weak. Similar with the Chinese on the trade side of things. Economy's pretty strong now. I mean, you can switch out, get the farms up and running pretty quick if you are in a tight spot. I think unit-wise, they're pretty strong. The tankiest men at arms probably get stand corrected by someone on that. Longbowmen obviously being a pretty Chad unit. Anything you want to add? I'm sure there is.
Yeah, I mean, I think you kind of touched on it already. Network of Castles is a really good buff for the army, getting that much attack speed on hand cannons and longbows, as well as the Chatted Arms, which are very good. and then farms providing gold means that they're not as trade reliant as other civs because they generate their own gold. I think that they're very isolationist good, and they're kind of like my baseline civ that I was using for like comparing civs to one another. I think my problem with English is I don't really know what the win condition is. Like it's hard for them to get up to 6,000 stone. You don't see them wander too often, and they seem to be just like okay at everything, right? Which
Yeah.
is my analysis here.
Yeah.
Despite network of castles, there are better armies that will beat them.
Yeah, and then up there with like the Chinese and the French with the Berkshire Palace, they do have a defensive, pretty good defensive landmark. What do we think of Wingard units? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I really like them. I normally go Berkshire though. I'm not gonna lie, but the footmen as like just improved men at arms is kind of good. It just produces so slowly. You kind of have to go AFK for 20 minutes for
Yep.
you to make enough units out of the wing guard for it to be relevant in a fight.
Yep. Okay. So that being said, I think I'd put them lower than Abbasid, or probably on maybe on par. Maybe B. Yeah, I'm between B and C. I mean, can we go? Can we go middle? We can't. What do you think? You be the decider.
I say let's put them at B behind Abbasid for now, and maybe we can adjust them later.
Okay, makes sense.
All right, so I want to jump in for this next one, which is French, because for me this one was the hardest to place. Like ultimately, Guildhall plus Red Palace as two landmarks is absolutely an inevitable game win condition because you're going to get up like 20 keeps with Arbalist emplacements. You're going to stone tower everything, and your wonder is going to be a 10 out of 10 on the wonder defense scale. So you've got this win condition that's really large that you're playing for the whole game. That said, when you think about what else they have going for them, it's they have good trade, and the Royal Bloodlines Knights are a good army, but I would only put it at like a 7 out of 10. I still think like China, Ottoman, even Delhi armies are above them, and like Abbasid and English are probably on par with them in terms of army quality. And then the eco is shit, as is the boom potential, right? Like they do have faster producing villages, so I put them above like English in terms of boom, but they're really not comparable to most civs.
Yeah. I mean, if you
So
if you had the APM for the trade, I mean the trade's kind of okay. I feel like because obviously you can switch it around if you need to. Rash ability is pretty solid as well.
yep,
Getting access to early knights, and the strongest knights in the game. Yeah.
yeah, I think they're good in a Thunderdome. I just don't think that they're good in a boom. And then I think that they're very hard to snipe because of the if they get to the guild hall point, right? Like if you timing push them at H4, that's one thing, but once they get the first guild hall and put up 5 keeps around the already red palace, it's like you're not likely going to be able to snipe that.
Yeah. And an interesting point in the chat as well. Best crossbows, but hand cannoners exist. So yeah, kind of irrelevant. I think. I agree with that
Yeah,
point.
that's where I landed, and considering the crossbows as well. Nomad is, if we're talking about just army quality, right? The good crossbows are going to get beaten by good hand cannons, just in terms of usability.
An interesting point as well. Something. Sorry, just to interject. Something that wasn't mentioned at all on any of the sort of 7 categories is the sort of politics type situation. Back in the day, in the initial FFAs, China was like everyone would target. Now it's becoming certainly more French orientated. You don't want to let the French person sit there and chill. I don't know if that could be taken into consideration about this, but someone like Danny Dragon, you're not going to let him sit back and get 30,000 stone in the guild hall. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point, Nomad. I mean, hopefully people will use a tier list as a list of who you should target first in an
True.
FFA, because we're such geniuses. So I don't know. This one was really hard for me to place personally.
So, well, as in
Uh,
between S and A, are you saying?
yeah, so I put them at the top of B tier, but even as we've been talking, I would put them in A tier now. So they've gone up in terms of what I would put.
Okay, I'm agreeing with that. Yeah, I think the boom ability really stops them being in S tier. I think otherwise, if their eco was a bit better, then I think they would potentially be behind China in S tier. But yeah,
Yeah, I think booming is one of the most important categories. I think it's like
36k
booming and
stone
army
every
quality.
hour.
It's a lot of stone.
That's a lot of stone.
All right. Do you want to start with the next one?
HRE, my favorite civ. Okay, yeah. I mean, this is a difficult one. I feel like it's very relic dependent. You cannot go Burgrave. You are stupid to go Burgrave. I probably won't even touch on why the reasons are, but um, yeah, I feel like someone like me who manages to get probably most of the relics, I'd certainly put them higher than maybe most would. I think the Arkan's very good late game. Your food, it'll trump any fishing economy, any great. Are they better than granaries?
Aachen?
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay. Yeah. Trade wise, crap. Relics are very good though, and the later the game goes, the more valuable those population spots become. So for that, they get top marks for.
Yep.
Defensibility and Rat's Nest, I think they're extremely strong if you get enough relics. You get all of the buffs for greater defensive buildings, like the anti-fire thing and the I can't remember the names of them, but they get a bunch of stuff there. They obviously get the land snakes, which are an amazing unit. I find and have helped me out of countless situations in staying alive and making my units count. But yeah, I'm not sure I have anything else to add. Uh,
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything you said. I think that when we think about our most important categories of booming, the really good at that, right? They've got a great eco and they can explode it either by going Palace's Warrior or even just by getting relics, right? I think you get 3 relics, you're probably on par with someone who went 2 TCs, assuming that you add a TC later on yourself,
mm,
right? So I think HIA is a very good civ. um, yeah, I
yeah,
mean,
I think as
I
well.
think they're good.
Sorry, just to say as well, you just made me think of a point. Sorry to interrupt. Is the kind of bounce back? I feel like they probably would have up there with one of the best bounce backs you can do if you went Swabia and you managed to get your Swabia back up, or you managed to hide that in a corner and survive. The potential to get back into the game is pretty solid. Which I actually did in that BC Cutie FFA on King of the Hill or whatever it was, and that gave me then a shot at winning it, despite being 2v1 at the start. So, yeah. Sorry, I interrupted you, though.
No, I agree. I think that's really good points. This is another one that I initially had at B tier, and kind of similar to French. The more we talk, the better I think they are. So I'm willing to move them up to A tier. And obviously, if you have an HIA player in your games, you just want to spend some time denying those relics if you
Yeah.
can, either by building walls around it or getting a few feudal units out just to delay it. It's definitely worth investing.
Yeah. Yeah. For that reason, and me being a little bit biased, and it's our Civ thingy, but I'm going A with it.
Yeah. This could be bias coming into play because me and Nomad both like to play HREs and Nomad FFAs,
Definitely.
which could come in. But then again, we did put China in S tier, and despite them being really easy and me winning all my games with them, I don't I don't personally enjoy playing them.
No, I entirely agree with that as well. I think I would win a lot more games if I did, but I just don't enjoy playing them. And similarly with the French as well, I think. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, cool.
I
Moving
mean,
on.
Nomad, you're a
Oh,
bit more of a Mongol connoisseur than I am, so do you want to lead
sure.
off with this one as well?
Sure, sure. I'm sure your Avity will chime in here as well with some stuff. But yeah, I think if we're going point by point, I think their landmarks are really interesting in terms of the actual what you get from them, despite the economy buffs and being able to move them around and things like that. I think there's a lot that can be said about Mongols. You get access to a huge amount of additional upgrades. Quicker rams, better economy. The trade is phenomenal. On par with the Bassett, or is it better? I don't know. I don't know.
The trade, I
Trade's probably
put
better, right?
Mongol.
With the
I put
stone.
Mongol trade as the best for FFAs because of the stone.
Yeah.
And I also think, like, when we talk about Mongols, this is really the Civ for you if you are a rat player, right? The ability to move and hide your landmarks,
Yep.
as well as the ability to come back easily if you're able to get trade online, sneak some trade. But also, if you just find a dead player and you get to burn their buildings, I've gotten like 5k of every resource just by finding a fully developed dead player and burning it down, right?
Yep.
So they always have that ability to come back into the game. And when you think about it, the Wonders are also got a huge buff recently with the new tower upgrade that Mongols
Mm.
can get, right? Because now the towers have more HP for when they're making a tower nest for the Wonder, and we already knew how miserable pushing a tower nest can be from Aussie Drongo's Outback Octagon 2, 1 and 2.
For sure.
So
And something to add as well. 8 players. We're talking about 8-player games, right? We're talking about quite large, either large or giga maps. A lot of buildings, a lot of dead players potentially, a lot of buildings to burn. A lot of stone to harvest from those. I mean, that's a huge thing. You can really get back into the game with that. Something as well that people don't. I haven't seen used a huge amount. I think I've seen Chris do it, Smeagol do it a bit. Is the fact that you can now interrupt a trader and put it on a different route. I don't see it at all, but I'd love to see more of, and I'm throwing this out there. Hopefully, people pick up on it. Is people actually walking a bunch of traders with their army to someone's market, tapping on it, and then heading back home, which we don't see much. So I'm hoping to see some of that now I've said it. But yeah, I think based on all of those, I don't think there's an area. I mean, army quality is solid. One of defense solid.
I would disagree with you there. So
Okay.
I think that the one weakness that the Mongols have is the army quality, as well as the like villager eco. If they don't get trade, like I think that they are trade reliant for the eco. They don't have the worst army in the game, like your Avity is saying, because we haven't gotten there yet. But Malians exist. Um, but I do think that in terms of army quality, they do get smoked by pretty much everyone. The only advantage is they have Springolds on par with the Roofs, but that's only like means that they do okay against like China and Ottomans, which are very good civs and FFAs.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so I don't know. For me, I think that the army brings them down from being S tier, which I think is where we were going when we say that they have the best trade and the best strat ability, and one of the best wonder defenses.
Another point though to raise: Kurultai, 20% buff, damage buff. If you use that effectively, that's going to help your army a lot. Um, what about something we haven't touched on with any of them yet is on the water, which I think so. Chinese again, another reason why they should be S tier. I know I'm going back to them, but is the Bao Um, on water, they get to burn ships as well. You've got the versatility there. I mean, I'm steering towards S tier with them, but I'll let you be the decider on it.
I'm gonna put them in A. I'm not gonna let you put them in S.
Okay, fine. I just, I, another reason why I'm steering towards them being S is the Mongol Madness tournament. I want people to be encouraged to come and join in on the tournament. But yeah, fine. Okay, we can agree with that. A.
Okay, so I mean, I was a season 1 and 2 Roost main when Hoist Archers were totally overpowered. So I'm very good at present day Roost as a result. It definitely transferred, and I'm definitely not washed up. So for me, Roosts are very good, right? They're good in booming situations and in rushing situations, right? And they have Streltsy and Siege upgrades in the late game, which, especially given the current state of Rams, which are still really good even after the most recent nerfs, the fact that you can upgrade those even further is really, really good. And they are definitely a very good tempo civ because of the bounty system. You kind of get off to an advantage with them early on in the game. Um, So yeah, I think they have a really good army and they're really good whether they're in a boom situation or a rush situation. I would only just say that the trade is shit. Sorry, the trade is bad.
Yeah.
As well as the eco, right? Like the late game economy. Maybe you get 500 free gold from the hunting cabins, but like the farms have no advantage, and the wood being 20% is good, but not like insane.
Yeah, yeah. I think as well. I mean, another point on their side is you got a pretty good choice of imperial landmarks with the high armory coming in. Siege is obviously a huge win condition and a hugely required thing to use. And then you've got the other option is the strongest defensive landmark with the most health. So I think that definitely stands for them. But you're also guaranteed
Yeah,
if there's no other
that's
Roost players in the game, you're guaranteed to get probably like 1,000 bounty. But
yeah, and that's definitely for me one of the most interesting parts of recent FFAs is the landmark choice in late game because either you get to shore up the weakness and get stone walls, which helps you one to defense, or you get the really great siege units. So I think it's just kind of fun that they have that kind of choice. Doesn't really play into the strength factor because both options are good, but yeah,
Roost
I
fishing as
like
well, pretty
playing
good
them for that
fishing.
reason.
You can lose all your
Best
docks and
fish
still
boom.
fish.
They've got the best fish boom in the game because the boats don't have to move.
Yeah, I'll
Yeah,
let you.
thank you,
I'll,
RJ Triza, for agreeing with me.
oh,
Um,
these are COD lads, so ignore. I don't know what they're doing in it. They haven't got a clue.
listen, he knows what he's saying. He's agreeing with me. He's right.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, good. Yeah, no, Ryzen does obviously know what he's talking about.
so for me, I'm putting them in A tier. That's where I had them.
In
I think
A.
that they're closer to S tier than the Mongols are, but
Ah. Okay,
that's
so
where
hang on,
I
let's
put
sort
them.
this out. So we've got French is definitely top. Uh, I'd have this like this. I think. Do you agree with that?
No, but that's okay. I would have put Rus above
You do that on your
Mongols,
stream,
but
okay?
okay, for sure. Um, okay. You
Allied
want to do the
Trex.
next one?
We need to get Allied Trex in here for this one. I'm pretty bad with Delhi. I mean, elephants, guys. Elephants. Access to elephants, pretty chad, pretty daunting. No one wants to come up against an army of 30 elephants, if they ever do. In terms of sacred sites, I don't know how much that plays into it. Worst FFA Civ, I don't know if they're the worst. I think they might be. I don't know. I'm trying to think
I mean,
of.
I really think that the benefits are really just elephants, and then they've got a bad eco, they've got bad trade, they've got bad rat ability, and they're really weak to timing pushes, especially at the start of Age 4.
Yep.
Like when another civ gets to Age 4. So I think they're super vulnerable. If you see a Delhi player, you can kind of run them over um,
Yep.
in a timing push. So for me, I think that the below everyone that we've put up so far.
Yep. Cool. Where do you want to put them? C?
See,
Yep. Cool. And then Malians, interesting. So Malians, really good trade, decent trade, I believe. You can obviously get the trade landmark, you can get the towers up, you can get the extra tax. Um, you get the passive, albeit you need to be pretty spread out. You get a lot of passive from obviously the cows and the mining pit mines. Long day. Um, Shittest units in the game. Excuse my French. Um,
yeah,
yeah, if you want to interject.
no, I think they do have good things going for them, right? They've got special eco benefits that free up population space with cows and pit mines. But it doesn't matter because having 20 more Musafai or other unarmored units still gets blown up. So I think the army being just so poorly suited for FFAs when everyone can afford premium units, afford siege. I just don't see how in the late game they're able to compete with any other civilization.
Yeah.
And culverins are good, but like you don't even need mass siege to beat them.
Yeah.
So for me, I put Malians at D tier. I think that they are the worst FFA Civ.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you there. And I also want to put someone in D tier, so it was either going to be that or Delhi. So I'm with you on that. I mean elephants, right? Elephants. So yeah, that's why they're above.
Yep. And I think we started with an S tier Civ, and I think we're ending with an S tier Civ. For me, I think currently
Mm.
Ottomans were overbuffed in the hyper late game. It's not going to affect 1v1s very much because not many 1v1s go to the hyper late game. But when we're talking about Nomad FFAs, the new Great Bombard emplacements can blow up 25 archers or 25 hand cannons in one shot, as well as the Great Bombards being better than Springles, which is the natural counter. So for me, I think Ottomans are S tier behind China, just given the army quality, as well as very good trade. Right, they have the highest trade generation per minute, and they get free units on top of that. So
I,
you put
I
those three things together, and they're just better than everyone.
I agree, I agree. And also as well, you've got which interestingly 3DB did in our FFA tournament on Saturday. He went with the Vizier. I can't remember the name of it because I actually don't very rarely use it, but is the extra Vizier point landmark, which I think is a really viable option, especially if you're going to the late game. You're less reliant on the amount of resources abundance. In certain cases, so those extra Vizier points really do come in handy. And when you're getting 40% extra gold from your traders, I mean, their trade then turns into fucking S tier trade, I think, or certainly A tier trade. So yeah, strongest unit in the game by far. You got the keep emplacements as well, the Great Bombard keep emplacements. Um, the thing that does let them down is Janissaries, or used to let them down, and I think now people are using Janissaries properly. I mean, you come up against a French main, and it's you're his worst nightmare. So yeah, so for those reasons, I agree with you, and I also love them as well. So I think we're gonna get S tier, but behind China. Do you think?
Yeah, I mean, for me, both late game armies are comparable. I think that China and Ottomans are both very good. I just think China has an easier time getting to the late game than
Mm.
Ottomans do, and they're better at booming than the Ottomans
And
are.
survivability as well with the extra landmarks. The economy's definitely better. Yeah, there's definitely a few factors at play that make them better.
Yeah. No, but I think that you should do a close outro now for the video, and then we should get
Yes,
some of the people in the chat in this call and let them voice their thoughts on our tier list.
I agree. I agree. So to end it for the YouTube video, like and subscribe and all that shite. But yeah, no, let us know what you think. We will do another one shortly once we get some feedback, probably in maybe a week's time. See how it goes. But yeah, I'm gonna end the video here now. Catch you all in the next one.